Well, my guest doesn't shy away from trouble. It speaks volumes that the turnaround leader parachuted in to rescue 3 major failing enterprises. He didn't just accomplish his mission, he won hearts. No one wanted Dr. Mark Rutland to leave. And don't let the title of his 14th book overwhelm you. Relaunch, How to Stage an Organizational Comeback. There is something for all of us here. Congratulations, Dr. Rutland. New York Times bestseller list.
Thank you. We're absolutely thrilled. It has taken off like a shot.
Fantastic. And you know how much I loved it. I've been gushing already. And I want to say you're from Texas originally.
Yes.
And you are the president of the National Institute of Christian Leadership.
Yes, we teach leadership, turnaround leadership particularly, but leadership, organizational structure. We have pastors, business people, nonprofits, all kinds of people attend the National Institute.
We could sit at your feet all day.
Thank you.
3rd president of Oral Roberts University, and I understand this 4th year is your final year.
Yes, I told them I would do 4 years and out. My job was the turnaround. Come in, clean out the closets, tidy up. We went from $55 million in debt. We're debt-free. We have done about $57 million in deferred maintenance. We did that debt-free. We just built a brand new building, the first new building on Oral Roberts University in 30 years. And we built it for cash. Beautiful, beautiful, drop-dead gorgeous student center. And so the campus is shining. It looks great. Our enrollment's up. Everything is looking great. Time for a new guy.
You know, this is the third project we're talking about here. But I love that you pushed joy every day. You sat in that cafeteria with the students, I'm sure you still do. A very interesting style of leadership.
Well, when I came to ORU, I prayed that I would find some kind of an insight, something that would be the cultural turnaround. The CEO, leader, pastor, whatever it is, the teacher in a local classroom, probably the mom with 5 kids at home. You're the senior culture officer. You set the culture. And I prayed for a word.
SCO.
Yeah.
Okay, girls, write it down. You are the senior culture officer.
That's right. And I prayed for a word, and the word just kept coming to me, joy. The university had been through a lot of crisis. There'd been a lot of anger and disappointment and disillusionment, and the word joy. One day in chapel, you know how you say things, just come. I said, welcome, I had the visitor stand, and I said, welcome to the most joyful university in this or any parallel universe. And for some reason, you know college kids, it hit. They loved it. They tweeted it, everything. And now, when we say it in chapel, they say it, they chant it. So it took place. It's a joyful campus.
Now, when we read your book, we discover that you have an engine. In every turnaround, there's an engine.
That's right.
And the engine here was chapel.
Yes.
And I'm sure you did a lot of the preaching there. And may I cite your motto? Open up, lighten up, loosen up.
That's right. The university just seemed, frankly, tight and dark when we got there. And what I felt it needed joy, it needed to lighten up, people need to laugh again, you know? And so I did. I preach about 85% of all the chapels at ORU, which is very unconventional for a college president. Usually they preach once or twice a year maybe for a Christian college president. And I preach about 85% of the chapels, and we try to make it fun and upbeat and yet at the same time have some substance.
And the gift of presence. I see that in you in all of these stories. But I promise, let's go back to the beginning.
All right.
Because your dear mother gave you a life lesson that you've carried all the way through.
Yes, we moved a lot. My dad was a wee bit of a nomad, and so we kind of moved from rent house to rent house to rent house. And soon after we would move into every house, my mother would clean them up, tidy up, but quickly she would be in the flower bed out front. And I finally kind of confronted her the way kids will do, and said, why do you do this? Why, you know you're going to move off and leave it. Why do you even do this? And she said, if I can leave the flower bed in better shape than I found it, I feel satisfied. She said, let the next lady move in and find flowers. And it just touched my heart. And I realized that there are times in life where somebody just moves in and fixes the flower beds for the next person. And that's a very valid leadership calling.
I think we should all make it our goal to add value wherever we are.
That's it.
Every day. And that was her modeling. And then I can't even talk about your grade 5 teacher without losing it. I read actually the page and a half to my husband and my son in a public place on the weekend and was mopping tears. So you tell us, please, about Mrs. Burkett, and I hope all teachers will take note here.
I do. I wish every teacher would take note. She had an educational or leadership tactic that she used. I wish every teacher, even every mom, would take hold of this. Once a month, she would have us all pull our little desks in a semicircle, and she called it Dream Day. And she would go one by one with every single student and talk with you about your dream and just anoint it. I don't know if she was a Christian. I wasn't raised in a Christian home. I don't know if she was a Christian, but the effect was that she saw our dreams with the eyes of faith.
No one was allowed to giggle or laugh.
No laughter.
Mock.
If you twitched an eyebrow at anybody else's dream, you missed Dream Day the next month, and nobody wanted to miss Dream Day. And she acted. I mean, these kids had crazy dreams, stuff that you just knew this is never going to happen. She acted like it was the most rational thing in the world. And then one day, my first time in her class, she said, "Here's the new boy. Let's ask him, what's your dream?" And I answered without a moment's hesitation. I still don't know where that answer came from because I was unprepared for the question and it just came out of me. I said, "I want to write books." I had moved a lot. Books had been a great comfort to a weird little 5th grader that felt culturally out of place everywhere I moved. And I thought maybe I could write books that would comfort some other weird little 5th grader. But Mrs. Burkett took that dream up in her hands and she breathed a breath of life on it. She acted like, she recited it as if it had already happened. She said, "Someday I'll go into a bookstore and I'll buy a book." And she said, "It'll have your name on it." It happened. I'm telling you, it was as if it had already happened. I don't believe, this is my 14th, I don't believe I ever would have written the first word of the first book if it hadn't have been for a little chubby 5th grade teacher that never was famous or significant in any way except her significant influence on my life.
You're a cheerleader. And you were telling me in the green room, this was also a way of God through her redeeming you because another teacher had told you to just mouth the words in the choir, don't sing them.
I had such a horrible voice, and she said, "Mark, now when the other kids sing, you just move your mouth."
Oh, dear.
So that didn't do a great deal for my self-esteem, at least in the music category. However, it was good in one way. She spared a lot of people from me trying to sing.
Well, from your wisdom, I read, we have more leadership consultants and experts than ever in our world, and less true leadership.
Somehow or another, we've gotten the idea that leadership is about learning the rules and the regulations, the 9 steps, the 4 keys, the 13 answers, and we've lost the emotional expenditure of personal leadership. There is a cost to really doing leadership, to really being a leader. And until people enter into that, spend the personal expenditure of it, the time, energy, resources, until they learn servanthood, until they learn to really give themselves for the people they lead, all the rules won't help you.
Well, the Lord clearly shaped you for this, Dr. Rutland. I love the sentence when you said you felt like a guy who'd been working at a hardware store, and now you were working side by side with Donald Trump, or a man who seemed to be that far ahead of you in expertise.
He was. I know exactly who you're talking about. Dr. Paul Walker, he was the senior pastor at Mount Perrin Church of God. He called me, frankly, I'm the guy who came out of Africa. He called me literally out of Africa to come there and be the preaching associate. He had 2 facilities there. One was 3,500 seats. The other was 2,500 seats. They were about 18 miles apart. And he was just traveling back and forth, really wearing himself out.
Largest church of God in the U.S.
Yes, and about the 9th largest in the United States, the largest Pentecostal church east of the Mississippi. 9,200 members. At that time, that was a huge church. And he was wearing himself out going between these 2 churches. So for several years, he and I preached in tandem. He would be at one church, I'd be at the other, back and forth. is some of the greatest years of my life. But I saw high octane, high velocity, multi-level leadership at an intimate level. He took me right into board meetings at his elbow, and I saw it, and I realized there was a whole other world of leadership and management that I didn't even know about. And God spoke to me and said, learn everything you can learn.
You refer to it as filling the toolbox. But the turnaround challenge was still to come. And the first one was Calvary Church, Orlando.
Yes. When I was at Mount Perrin, in a comfort zone that was slightly larger than the state of Montana, everything just wonderful, no issues, no crisis, no need for a turnaround. I was basking in the reflected glory of Dr. Paul Walker. Everything was just perfect. This totally bankrupt church in Central Florida called, and I evidently had a psychotic breakdown and accepted. I went there. It was a desperate situation. In fact, it was so bad, I wasn't even paid there for the first 6 months. It was totally upside down in debt. They had built a huge auditorium with declining enrollment, kind of a Field of Dreams thing. If build it and they will come. And they didn't come, and it didn't turn, and it collapsed financially, emotionally, in every way. And that was the first of these three huge and very, very challenging turnarounds.
What I took away, one of the things I took away from this story, this was a big show church, very much focused on entertainment. Whatever dog and pony show was hot was there on a Sunday. That's right. You brought it back to solid preaching of the word. And to community, truth, guidance, restored loyalty, trust, spiritual authority, and integrity. You say it was like adopting 1,200 abused children. But what came to my heart, we had a leadership day, a leader cast day here. And all the spokespeople from Burberry to Home Depot framed, highlighted trust and authenticity / vulnerability as the key to a healthy, strong organization.
Absolutely.
What a surprise.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be a surprise to us. That is the number one thing. The collapse of trust is actually the total erosion of leadership. Your ability to lead. Now, you can command from positional authority, but you cannot lead with the power of influence if trust has collapsed. So the turnaround leader's first responsibility is to restore trust. To restore confidence is to restore confidence in ability. To restore trust is to restore trust in integrity. And you have to work to restore confidence. We can win this game. You come and take over a losing team, you have to tell them, we can win. You can play and I can coach and we can win. The second is you have to tell them, I won't lie to you and I won't rip you off. And you have to keep doing it year after year after year until that trust is rebuilt, inside and outside. Because in any major institution, even in a family, the people watching have lost confidence. And you have to restore confidence and trust inside. You have to restore confidence and trust outside.
Wow, doesn't this sound like something you want to hear more about? And can't we apply wherever we are in our roles? We can apply some of these wonderful truths. The second challenge, by the way, Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida. You spent a decade there. The engine, by the way, was the admin department or the registrar. Am I right? And you coined a word, leaderversity. Leaderversity.
Yeah, actually, Ken Blanchard coined the word. Ken is a friend of mine, and he wrote the foreword to this book.
Right.
The great leadership genius is Ken Blanchard, who wrote the 1 Minute Manager and so many other things. Ken came to speak at the university, and everything was about leadership. Our student volunteer program, our faculty preps, everything. And he said in his speech, he said, this is not a university. He said, this is a leaderversity. And that was too good to pass up on, so we appropriated it.
Well, I'm just going to close with another quote from your book. Leaders who forget they are servants become bureaucratic bullies and drive into walls. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. Dr. Rutland, thank you so much. I feel like I've gone to school, and you're going to want to do the same. This is at our e-store. Relaunch, how to stage an organizational comeback or become a great encourager. Can I add that byline?
Absolutely.
Come back, Dr.
Thank you.
Rutland.
I'd love to.
God bless you in your next chapter.
Thank you.
I'm sure it'll be another book.
Thank you.